Hey everybody, I want to start today's devotional by asking you a question. If you knew that tomorrow was going to be your last day on earth, what would you do different today? If you knew that your end was about to come, what would be different about your now? We get to see how Jesus spent his last day on earth as we look at John chapter 13. What he did is he gathered his closest friends together and had a meal with them. But during this meal, this really surprising thing took place. Verse 5 of chapter 13 says us, Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. This is a really weird thing. I don't know if anyone's ever come over to your house and you've like, hey, let me wash your feet for you, Back in that culture, it was even odder because this job was the job of the lowest servant. Back in ancient times, they walked around in open-toed sandals, and there was no sewage system, and it was a very, dry and arid place. You can just imagine the dirt and the grime, and just people's feet were, quite frankly, disgusting. And so they did wash their feet regularly, but it'd be the lowest slave that would do it. It was the most demeaning job. And yet here's Jesus, the host of the party, the one who gathers everyone together, and here he is taking on the job of the lowest possible servant. And then after doing it, he says, he put his outer garments on and said, in verse 12, he resumed his place, said to them, do you understand what I've done to you? Right? He did this because he was trying to teach them something. And how incredible is that? Here's Jesus, the day before he's going to die, the day before he's going to bear God's judgment. And we know it's on his mind and his heart. I mean, later on, he's going to be talking about like how he prays and he's like sweating drops of blood. Like Jesus is about to be completely destroyed. And yet right before his moment of greatest need, he is thinking about his disciples and caring for them and still trying to teach them something. As he was going through his time of crisis, he wasn't just thinking about himself and what he needed. He was still thinking about others and meeting them in their need. This is his love. Jesus came not to be served, he said, but to serve. He came to serve and to teach and to show that love means being willing to lay aside yourself, your wants, your desires, and to even take the place of a lowest servant for the good of others. On the day before Jesus died, Jesus was showing us what it means to truly be someone who loves someone else. He was showing us what it means to be a servant. Love has no limits. Love doesn't define what it can and can't do. No, love is specific actions for specific people to do good to them, even if it means a cost to yourself. And Jesus said to them in verse 12, he said, do you see what I'm teaching you, right? This wasn't just something he was doing. He wanted them to learn something. And then as we go down in verse 34 and 35, we see what it is that he wanted them to learn. He says, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Just as I've loved you, you also are to love one another. Right? Jesus was showing them what love was like. This day before he was going to show them ultimate love is like by dying on the cross for their sins. He was showing them on this Thursday, he was showing them what it meant for him to take actions to serve them and to care for them. How incredible is our Savior? How incredible it is of our Savior. He didn't spend the whole day praying with the Father. He didn't spend the whole day being like, guys, can't you serve me? Like, I'm about to do all this for you. Can't you do for me? No. Our Savior was still loving even in the day before it was going to be his last day on earth. Right before he was going to end his life, he showed how life is meant to be given in love for other people. He says, as I've done for you, you also are to do for another. He wanted to show us what love is like so that then we would go forth and love other people in his name. But Jesus shows us that love is not a feeling, but it's taking action. And it's not just a general sense of, okay, yeah, I'm going to love people in a general sense. No, it's taking specific action towards specific people to meet specific needs that they have. And so here's the question, as we get ready to celebrate Good Friday tomorrow, as we think about the love of Christ, who are you loving? How are you being like the teacher and the master? Are you content just to receive Jesus' love and enjoy it? Or do you want to show Jesus' love to others? Are you willing to be used by God as someone who's going to spread his love to other people through doing specific things to specific people at specific times, no matter the personal cost to yourself, to take action on their behalf? We're still going through a time of crisis. We're still going through a time where we all have needs. But in our time of crisis, in our time of needs, may we show who Christ is. And may we love other people in his name. And so that's my encouragement to you. Who are you going to love? What action steps are you going to take to love someone today? Who is that person? What can you do? How can you show that you know how you've been loved by Jesus and therefore want to go forward and do love in his name? Hope that encouraged you. Hope that gives you something to think about. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please give it a share. We want to get this message out to as many people as possible so that Jesus Christ might be glorified. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow with another Daily Devotional.